Hey everybody, welcome to the Jim Master Show Live Entertainment Lifestyle Talk Show series. How's everybody doing today? It's so great to have you guys here from literally all around the world. This show comes to you live from the New York area here in the Northeastern United States. That's the New York, New Jersey, Connecticut tri-state area, as they call it. We're here along the southern New England coast between New York and Boston. This is our Entertainment Lifestyle Talk Show series. We're still celebrating the fact that we have done over 500 plus episodes, just about 7 days a week live for all of you, with guests who come in from Broadway and Hollywood, television, film, music, stage, culinary arts, sports, comedy, and everything in between, science and nature, health and wellness, everything about life too. And we always have a great time. Sort of harkening back to the old school talk shows. You may remember Dick Cavett and Johnny Carson, some of the great TV hosts and presenters, sprinkled in with a modern twist and a modern vibe of today. That's what we do. We have guests that come in from all around the world, viewers who are our Lovity Squad. That's right. The JMS Lovity Squad watching right now from all across the United States, Canada, Europe, Asia, Australia, Africa, New Zealand. We're still waiting for a couple of people to tune in from Antarctica. So if you have any relatives in Antarctica or the Arctic Circle, let them know we're on. Good to see you guys. We had a fantastic weekend. We went up to Massachusetts, this really cool town called Shelburne Falls, and the Bridge of Flowers, which is really spectacular. We posted some photos on our Facebook pages with it. We usually go there annually on our New England fall excursions. It's a beautiful time of the year in the Northeastern United States right now as the leaves are changing and the fall weather's coming to bear. You know, the hot apple cider, the hay rides, the fireplace, the sweaters, the turtlenecks. Cool time of year. Wherever you are around the world, it's really cool to have you here. Thanks for all the lovity. Thanks for all the posts, the celebrations. We celebrated over the weekend our 500 plus episodes. Thanks for all the comments, the Instagram messages, the tweets on Twitter, the Facebook posts, the private emails, private messages, celebrating our Entertainment Lifestyle Talk Show series. It means a great deal to have all of you here, whether you're watching live or you're watching Memorex. I remember they used to say that. Is it live or is it Memorex? Memorex for us would be the archives, the JMS archives, the Jim Master Show live archives, which are available for you. Over 500 plus episodes, really cool episodes, great guests, great conversations, poignant moments, lots of levity, and viewer interaction too, which is very special. Not a lot of shows do that, but we are very viewer centric. We really, really value you, the folks who watch this series, our show, and support it and tell everybody about it. And you share the links, you celebrate what we're doing here on the Jim Master Show Live. And we thank you so very much for all of that, and keep it going. It's obviously working. A lot of new people joining us and checking us out as well. We encourage you to subscribe to our YouTube channel, which is the channel you're watching right now. That's Jim Masters TV, Jim Masters TV. And if you subscribed already, thank you. Don't forget to click the notification bell. That way there, you'll never miss any of our live episodes, pop-up shows, special themed shows, and so much more. And also give this episode and all the episodes you enjoy a like. That's a thumbs up like. You see it on YouTube there. And also leave a comment for us too. We really value that, and we respond to the comments that you leave on the channel underneath each episode. We really, really appreciate it. Lots of comments coming in here. We've got a fantastic guest who's joining us live and direct from Los Angeles, California, Larry Strauss. He's a prolific author, teacher, and so much more. And his mother, you remember if you grew up as a television lover. I work in television, but I've also admired so many people who've passed through on television in the years that, television has been around, like Charlotte Rae, of course. Yes, you know her from so many incredible shows. We'll talk about some of them. We'll talk about the book. Of course, probably I would say most notably, how about The Facts of Life on NBC, or Diff'rent Strokes? Yes, there she is, Mrs. Garrett, and so many other incredible roles, going all the way back to, how many people remember this? When she played Miss Molly on Sesame Street. That's right. She was the mail lady on Sesame Street way back. Of course, I remember that. And she's amazing in so many different, she's a brilliant character actress. Absolutely. And a real spirit, a great wit, a great mind, a loving person inside and out. And this is so beautiful that Larry celebrates his mom, his relationship, growing up with Charlotte Rae as your mom, brilliant actress, television, film, commercials, so much more. This is a great shot with her and Gary Coleman, of course, who was on Diff'rent Strokes, and so many more shots, over the years. Look at that. The Paul Lynde Show. We were just watching that not that long ago on Antenna TV, and she was in the swimming pool on that episode. I think they still air that on Antenna TV. You could put her in any role, and she could take it on. Commercials, I mean, you name it, she did it. And here's a good example. Before we bring Larry on, he's got this incredible book that we're going to celebrate. Here's a commercial she was in that goes back in time. This is, again, showing you her versatility. This is for Charmin, of all things.
Miss Flagg.
Yes, Mr. Stang?
Better look around. Make sure no one's squeezing Charmin on company time.
Certainly, Mr. Stang.
She's coming. I try to resist squeezing Charmin, but Charmin is so squeezably soft, my fingers refuse to obey.
Stanley, you're squeezing Charmin.
Yes, Miss Flagg.
On company time.
No, Miss Flagg.
What?
This is my coffee break. Therefore, I'm squeezing Charmin on my own time.
Oh.
You could squeeze Charmin on your own time, Miss Flagg. Charmin is so squeezably soft, it's irresistible.
Deep down, squeezably soft. Soft fragrance, too.
Squeezing Charmin on company time, Miss Flagg.
Mr. Stang.
Charmin bathroom tissue. So squeezably soft, no wonder it's so irresistible.
You were weak, Miss Flagg. To resist Charmin, you've got to be strong.
I tell you, that was hilarious. And again, that's just something funny that we wanted to show you, showing her versatility, of course. You remember her from The Facts of Life, and there's The Gang, and so much more. But and then there's another book too earlier, The Facts of My Life, with Charlotte and Larry, her son. That's another one you might want to look for. Now, what's exciting about the book that Larry wrote that is due out, I believe you can get it in certain forms now, but it is available for pre-order. Light Man. We're going to talk about that in just a second. But first, why don't you join me? And we see, I see a lot of comments built up because, again, we do our shows live, which I love. Why don't you join me in welcoming our very special guest all the way from Hollywood, and also just a little something. His wife and son are having dinner, and they're having dinner without him. He's actually not having dinner right now, so he can join all of us on the Jim Master Show Live. That is a real JMS levity. Let's welcome Larry Strauss to the Jim Master Show Live right now as my special guest for this conversation. Larry, welcome to the show. It's great to have you with us, my friend.
Right. Thank you. It's great to be with you.
Well, that was a funny commercial. You probably remember that one, huh?
I do remember it. And I have to tell you, my mother had to give up Charmin, though, because the old pipes couldn't handle it. Very thick. I remember years after that, she's like, "Don't buy Charmin for me." That's squeezably soft, but it doesn't go.
But it doesn't
down those old pipes.
I think we had that issue too in New York, out east on Long Island, where sometimes if it's just a little too soft, it doesn't go down as it should.
Her commercials were, I mean. She had a Mr. Muscle one where she's got her head in the oven. And then there was a cough drop one.
Yes.
Where I think they improvised them all. And it's funny you mentioned Dick Cavett. I think she did commercials. She did these radio commercials with Dick Cavett for cough drops. But then there were TV ones where they were mentholated cough drops, and she would say, my feel it. There's this whole thing of, I feel it. And people on the street used to just like yell that line at her. Ooh, I can feel it. It's working.
Exactly.
But it was almost like, it almost seemed like, like a cocaine.
Right.
It was right on the edge, which the Charmin commercial is too. It's like right on the edge of appropriateness.
And she nailed it, with her, the innocence and just the delivery and so much more. I mean, she was arguably the quintessential TV educator as Mrs. Garrett, of course, on the hit series The Facts of Life. So it should really, I think, for the audience watching, and they're all commenting left and right, it's no surprise that, they follow a career in inner city education yourself and become an established author and journalist on the subject, and becoming an award-winning 30-year veteran inner city high school teacher who's worked with at-risk teenagers. Tell us about that. People might not know that part of your life, Larry.
Yeah, it's something I just became. When I started teaching, I said, well, when the crack babies get to 9th grade, I'm going to retire. But
yeah,
I didn't do that. And, in fact, I have had students who were born addicted to cocaine, and they were amazing. Like I found out because they revealed that about themselves, usually when they were writing college essays. And I was amazed at how together they were in spite of that. And then I used to say, when the children of my students are in my class, I'll retire then. But that's happened like 10 years ago. I've had dozens of students who say, my mom was, you were my mom's teacher too. So,
yeah.
So, I don't know. I tell my students, they're either going to drag me out of the classroom in a straitjacket or in a body bag.
Right, exactly. What was it about tackling inner city specifically as an educator that really attracted you and appealed to you? Obviously, there was that touch of Hollywood right there at your fingertips. You could have gone into that area if you wanted to, but
yeah, I should say, like, my childhood was not like that kind of glamorous Hollywood childhood,
right,
at all. I mean, my mother was in the theater. My father he was a musician. He was involved in theater and music, and then film. He was actually a really prominent sound and music editor. But again, it's not a glamorous job. I mean, it's hard work, long hours in unventilated cutting rooms, and and we grew up on the Upper West Side of Manhattan before gentrification.
Yes.
Everyone in my father and I were mugged multiple times. My mother, people would recognize her, so they didn't bother her. And my brother was developmentally disabled and kind of scary looking, so nobody bothered him.
Yeah,
but
we have a wonderful shot actually of you guys there.
Oh yeah, when we were kids. Yeah.
Kids, yeah.
That picture that's in Central Park before we
went,
uptown.
Do you remember what year that was?
I'm guessing it's like 63, because I would be 4 years old and my brother would be like 7 or 8. Yeah. That's a guess. Right. And I think we moved when I was about 5. So we wouldn't have been at that park. We would have been in Riverside Park.
Riverside
Park, yeah. But for me, like, well, I mean, as far as like why I ended up in the inner city, that's where that's where everybody starts, pretty much.
Exactly right.
The real question is, why did I stay at the same school for 30 years? And and that's, I love the kids. I just don't see any reason to move, to be anywhere else. And and now I'm part of the community. I've been there so long. My students know where to find me. My former students from years ago. Right now, we have a psychiatric social worker in our school. She was my student. Why would you want to leave when it's like home?
Yes.
One of the unfortunate things about the school system is that in order in order for people who are ambitious to promote, they always have to leave to go somewhere else. And so people are constantly moving around, leaving schools. And so you don't have that continuity.
Right, exactly.
That I think is, is very important to kids.
Absolutely, absolutely. The opportunity, when you saw that your mother's career started really taking off, and then obviously, you know, California, here we come. What was that like growing up, where your mother was receiving so much attention, and your father, of course, as well, and you had these opportunities to obviously move west, and now she's on television sets and film sets, and but still mom to you, still there for you guys. When Kelly Conway was on the other night talking about her dad, Tim Conway, she was talking about how he found a way, no matter what happened, all the times that he had to be away for the shows, McHale's Navy, Carol Burnett show, whatever it may be, he always made sure that he had time for them, and he was there, and he, might not be as much time as a typical dad or mom, but as much time as he could. He made sure that they were front and center in his life, and that they knew that.
Well, for me, that would have been actually when we were in New York, because I was 15 when we moved out here, and I didn't want anything to do with any adults. I was running my own life at that point. But when I was younger, I remember my mother she'd be doing 6 shows a week, and on her matinee or whenever, if she, even between shows on a Saturday, she'd come home and, make food. She was my friends from back then all remember her being one of the most, hospitable mother, always offering them food, always making them feel welcome. So that was very important to her. And, it meant a lot to me too. For me though, what I think my parents' greatest gift to me was how they took care of my brother. My brother had, severe disability. I don't know if how many people know this, but back then in the 1950s, parents were told to just get rid of their kids if they had a severe developmental disability like that. Arthur Miller had a son like my brother, and he was institutionalized his whole life. And and it was not a cruel thing on Arthur Miller's part. I'm sure he was encouraged to do it. That's what people did. And my parents refused to do it. And so, I got to see them just not give up on him. And it was heartbreaking. There was a lot of heartbreak for them that I saw, but it taught me something, probably the most valuable lesson they could have taught me, which is never give up on anybody. And of course, as an educator, you couldn't ask for better training because that's how I've always been. I've not given up on students, and and so there are men who still send me Father's Day cards because I didn't give up on them, and they were able to put their lives together because even though maybe they'd even given up on themselves, I just refused to give up on them.
Do you think that instinct that you have comes from what you witnessed with your parents being that way?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. It upsets me when I see other educators giving up on people, giving up on students. My son went to a private school, and I watched that school give up on some of his peers. They basically just say the school isn't right for you, and those sorts of things. And I get very upset when I see that. Like, the school's not right for you, then there's something wrong with the school. Why are that's not what you do to a young person when you say you're worthless to us. It's a very bad message, and it upsets me. And so I've often over the years been the one who's fighting for a student, we got to do something for this kid.
Yeah.
We got to figure it out. It's on us. It's not on them. I mean, they they got to take responsibility for themselves too. But, but we have to rise to the occasion.
When did you realize, was it around that age, 15 or so, when you realized how famous your parents, specifically your mother, Charlotte Rae, was, when you saw her on the screen and there she is on television all over? And
I mean, I don't know,
people
ask
she's
me
mom,
that, because
yeah.
if you haven't, if your mother's not famous, I guess there's nothing to compare it to. But
right.
I don't know. I mean, it's just, it was just who she was, I see her on I guess because you when you're backstage in a show, everybody, you see all the actors, they're just other people. And,
and did you get a chance to do that? Go backstage and see
Oh,
someone?
I mean, I didn't get a chance. I was, I had no choice in some cases. I mean, my parents, they used to do summer stock, and
right.
I would be there. I'd be there in the theater. I'd be there. I'd get yelled at for touching things. I mean, not a lot, but I remember experiencing that, and it was cool. I mean, it was a lot of interesting people. I mean, it really gave me a great education in, just the stark difference between the actor and the character. That it's just like, this is an act. I remember, I'll never forget, one time I came to pick my mother up. This was when I was older, when I was an adult. I came to pick her up, I think to take her out for dinner between shows. She was doing Into the Woods, excuse me, the touring company of Into the Woods with Cleo Lane. And I was standing backstage as they were singing the closing number, Into the Woods, and you watch them and they're all so animated, and they're just like, the eye contact and the way they relate to each other. It's just the magic. It's magical.
Yeah.
And then the applause come and you see them all, and they're holding hands and they're like, this team that's done this incredible thing, and then the curtain goes down and it's like they shut the light off. It's like the hands drop and they turn and they become themselves again.
Right.
And some of them, talk to each other because they're maybe going to go out together, but they're like back to being normal people. Yeah. There isn't like this, wow. And, right. I guess the difference between high school. I think if you're doing a high school show and that happens, it's not, it's like, they're probably, there's a euphoric sense, but for them, it's just like, okay, I'm leaving work now.
Is there a character or role that your mother took on, from your perspective, knowing her as well as you did, obviously, that was closest to who she really was, of the many roles that she had an opportunity to play?
It's interesting. Well, I mean, I think the part of, Mrs. Garrett was she created that character.
Yeah.
And so I think there's a lot of her in that character just because she created it. But I think she'd be the first to say that it's an idealized version of herself, that she's not that person. And excuse me, that, and really she really thought of someone else when she created that character. I mean, she had someone else in mind.
Did she?
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, it's in, she actually refers to that in the memoir that I helped her write.
Mm-hmm. The Facts of My Life.
Yeah. Actually, the woman's name was Edna. Her name was Edna Brubaker, and her daughter was developmentally disabled like my brother. Mm-hmm. And they became, they had a sort of a boyfriend-girlfriend relationship when my brother was, when was this? This was like in the mid 80s. So my brother would have been about 30 years old. And they had sex. And I remember, it was the only experience of like that for my brother. He was denied so many experiences that people, take for granted.
Wouldn't normally have.
Part of, yeah. And I'm, and this woman, Edna, she's very different from my mother. She was she worked in a frozen food factory in Central California. Lived a very hard life, but she brought her daughter to my mother's house, and they had, they so that so that their children could spend time together.
Yeah.
She's very open about it. She's very, honest and open, and and it just, they had this friendship that was very meaningful to my mother.
Yeah. Which is beautiful, really beautiful.
She died of cancer, this woman, not long after. It really moved my mother.
It was very, yeah.
A woman she had a really rough life. I think she'd been in an abusive marriage, and but my mother felt this, this really strong kinship with her.
Yeah.
And wanted that character named after her. And I think she wanted, she admired this woman, I mean, as much as, everyone, we're all insecure in our own ways.
Sure.
It was very, as accomplished as she was always aware of everything she hadn't done and wasn't good at. She used to say, I always wanted to be a waitress because I just think it's so amazing that people, are able to serve food and carry things. She said, I'd be afraid I'd drop everything. Like, I mean, she had a few like sort of office secretarial jobs when she was starting out in New York, but her career took off enough that she didn't really have to do a lot of that kind of work that a lot of her peers, other actors had to do. And ironically, she always felt a little bit like, oh, I got off easy, and what if I have to do work like that?
Yeah.
And I think she was very proud of the work I did.
Absolutely.
Actually, both my father tried teaching for a while, and I have a picture of him, and he looks so miserable. Yeah. He looks so miserable with these little kids. And I mean, the truth is, I would probably would have looked that way my first few weeks of teaching too. I just stuck it out, and he didn't have to. He had other opportunities at the time, and he didn't have to. But yeah, because the other thing is, she wasn't, she wasn't Mrs. Garrett. She was a good friend, and she helped a lot of her friends out with advice, but she was the last person to think she could solve people's problems. That other than to try, she didn't have the magic answers.
She did have this, I think, in the characters that she played, she had this maternal, warm, caring, witty, funny way about her. In a way where almost like she was the authoritarian, yet at the same time knew that she didn't have all the answers, and it came across in such an authentic way. She was very authentic in all of the roles.
Yeah. And she was very protective of that particular character. Yeah. She felt like she was responsible for what got on the screen with that character. But she wanted to be a serious actress. That was her. When she went to Northwestern, she wanted to do, Shakespeare and Medea, and she wasn't thinking of comedy. It was actually Paul Lynde they had
noticed that in her.
Well, it wasn't, but he brought it out. They have a thing at Northwestern, the WAMU show, I think they call it, and it's like comedy review. And she and Paul Lynde just took it over. They became the stars of it, and but she'd never thought of comedy before. She just, she wanted to be taken seriously as an actress. And
was she funny around the house? Was there a wittiness to her that was evident?
No, she would never say she was witty. She would never make that claim.
It seems like she was very humble too. Very humble. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, she could be very funny, but it was funny, and it was a different way. It wasn't witty. It was a more organic kind of funny.
Yeah.
And sometimes she was funny sometimes it was almost by accident, but you wondered,
Yeah.
if it was, it's just her capacity to, but really, I think the greatest comic actors are just great actors delivering
Yes.
funny material.
Yes.
And that was the thing. She was not, whatever natural ability she had, she worked really hard. She
Yeah.
always worked really hard. After she passed away, I found piles and piles of scripts of things that she'd done.
Yeah.
And they all had hundreds of margin notes that she had made about the character. Everything, even the most, what you'd think is the simplest scene, she would have everything about her motivation and and what was going on and everything. And if she didn't believe in it, she would tell the writers, I don't get this. I don't know what's going on. She just worked really hard at it.
Yeah. So she was a very, would you say she was classically trained actress, performer?
Well, yes, she was. Yeah. She was originally, yes.
Yeah.
And again, she did a lot of Broadway. She did series, but the part that she's the most proud of, that she was always the most proud of, was Samuel Beckett's Happy Days. I don't know if you saw that play, but it's considered the female equivalent of playing Hamlet.
Yeah.
Like the most demanding role. And it's practically a one-woman show. There's one other character in the show, but he's very much in the background. And you have to carry the show. And it's Samuel Beckett, so it's sort of surrealistic, and it's very challenging. And she did it. She did it twice. She did it in LA and she did it in New York. And she was always very proud of that. She had a review from Sylvie Drake of the LA Times hanging up in her bathroom, laminated. That was it. It was like, she finally felt like, she'd become the actress that she'd always wanted to.
That she had always.
This was after she left the show. And that's why she left the show. She just didn't feel like there was anything left for her to do on the show.
Yeah.
And she felt bad because she had co-stars on the show who weren't ready for it to end. And she was glad that her old friend Cloris Leachman
came in, right?
They were roommates once.
That's right. I forgot about that. Yes. Yeah.
They were roommates.
Yeah.
It's all in her memoir. I shouldn't give it all away. Buy the memoir. Buy her memoir.
The Facts of My Life. What was that like, writing that, with your mother, or putting it together with your mother? That must have been a very interesting and if not beautiful experience, treated with great care and attention to detail.
Yeah. Well, first of all, it was a truly a blessing for me. I think any son or daughter would be a great opportunity to have to be able to spend that time with an elderly parent and learn things about their life while they're still around and can still talk about it. So I was very blessed to have done it. I mean, I wish I'd been able to do it with my father too, so I'd know as much about his life. Although I do know quite a bit. I mean, we talked quite a bit, but this was a great opportunity in that regard. It was challenging. I actually had worked with another person in his 80s prior to that on a writing project, which we ended up not finishing it together. But and I remember, I think when I started working with my mother, I remember thinking like, wow, this is the same thing. They're telling the same 3 stories over and over again.
Right.
And, I want to tell you that, did I tell you this before? And so the big challenge was, I knew she remembered everything mostly. I knew she remembered. It's just that it wasn't at the forefront of her mind. I had to jar things loose. So it really was on me to get the conversation going and to say, well, tell me about this and tell me about this. And at a certain point, I just had to write a draft of it and have her read it and say, oh, no, that's not right. And say, okay, well, what happened? Because the memories are there, but the mechanism to sort of tell them, really needed to be, it needed a catalyst. We had a number of disagreements about things, which was very funny. We had a lot of fun with that. She remembered marching in an anti-war protest for the Vietnam War. She remembered marching in an anti-war protest with me in a stroller.
Wow.
And I said, well, I would have been really big for a stroller. Because I actually do remember marching with it, but I was definitely on my own 2 feet. Yeah, I would have been like, 8 or 9 years old.
And you're the stroller, but her version, it was the stroller.
Yeah. And then she'd say, like, well, I was pregnant when I did this show, and I'd look up the show, what year it was, and I'd say, well, I think according to my driver's license, I was born a few years before that. But
I was going to say,
so that was fun. We had a lot of fun with that. And then the other interesting thing was when we were doing the revisions, when we were going through it after like the second, third draft, she would actually I would sit with her in her kitchen, and she would basically perform the book like it was a script.
Wow.
And then she would get to a part where she gets stuck and she'd go, no, that's not right. I wouldn't say it like that.
Yeah.
Say, well, how would you say? And she'd start improvising, and I'd have to, take down notes. It was how an actor relates to a memoir or to anything, to language. It's how an actor relates to language, has to come through the vessel. Right. And so she made it hers. She made it her voice. And, when we were doing promotion, she used to like to say, and my son wrote my book. And I would say, no, I didn't write it. I helped you write it, but say no, because she didn't sit out. She did not sit down at a computer and type anything. She did not type a single word. I wouldn't have let her. It wasn't her, but she ran that whole thing through the vessel, through the actor's tool, and she made it hers.
Tell us about this book. I know, you are a prolific author. This is your 5th novel, Light Man, and it's created, I guess, a tragi-comic meditation on manhood, paying homage to the quasi-dystopian New York City of your childhood, which you touched upon a little bit. Of course, to your mother as well, whose comic flair was always fueled by personal heartbreak. And tell us about the inspiration for writing this book, and congratulations on it, Larry.
Well, thank you. I guess the inspiration probably was my childhood, although
she trained you well. She knew, move to the left when you're blocked. See, you were paying attention when she was on set.
This is tricky though, because I keep wanting to move the other. You're really good at. You're like, you don't even think, do you? You just know where to go. But oh yeah. Oh, when I'm in the classroom, I'm working that room like I'm on a stage,
Well, that's the thing, being an educator, we have educators in our family too. There is a performance element too, but it is this, your mother and father, storytellers, communal, like to play off the energy of others and make them laugh or inspire them, make them think. And you're doing the same thing. You might not be, on a TV studio set or soundstage, but you're on your own as an educator yourself.
Oh yeah, of course. The worst thing you could do is bore someone. If you bore someone in a book, they put it down. If you bore them on TV, they change the channel.
Yes.
If you bore them in the classroom, you're just torturing them.
Right.
And they may try to escape, but
no. And then they miss out on the education that they could have gotten.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, in a sense, my life is the inspiration. This book took on many different forms, and it's amazing how it morphed from one thing to another. The elements that are based on my life are there is an actress. She's not a major character in it, but she's the wife of one of the central characters, and she's a frustrated actress whose professional ambitions have been sublimated by the demands of her developmentally disabled son, which is the other element in the story that comes from my life. Her son can't. He looks right through her and smiles at the clock or the light bulb. He is prone to tantrums inexplicably.
Yeah.
Something happens. He's terrified of garbage trucks.
Mm.
It's almost this tragic symbol where he almost knows that there's something wrong with him, and he might end up in the garbage truck. Mm. And her husband is not based on my father. Her husband is an angry man named Mike who wants to fix his son. His son is broken, and this man can fix anything. He can fix your toaster or your broken TV, but he can't fix his son. And he tries. He tries. The opening chapter takes place in Riverside Park, and this man is with his two sons, and one of them has this sudden conniption, and everyone is just staring at them. No one's helping. Everyone's just staring at them. And then he has a paper bag, and he takes out this baseball cap that he's made into this. He's attached fishing line and little pieces of mirror, little pieces of mirror that reflect the light, and it calms this boy down. It's like he's created this way to calm him down. And the other main character is a guy named Al, sees this, and it amazes him. It inspires him. He can't get over that this man who has this son, and everyone's just watching this thing, and everyone's just he just senses like this is New York City in the 70s, as you mentioned. And it's like, if it's not my problem, it's not my problem. New York. It's the New York where people will walk by while somebody was getting beaten on the street. And that's what's happening. Everyone's just looking like, what's wrong with this kid, and what's wrong? And this man takes out this thing, and Al is just amazed. And so he wants to meet this guy. He wants to know this man. And so the novel is about their friendship and how, in one sense, they find each other and find solace in each other, but at the same time, they also become destructive forces for each other.
And this, like you said, is set in back in '73, which was a tougher time in the city. But you're really digging, Lightman and the Roach Lady, you're digging into the psyche of a city on the edge, right? As the two men whose lopsided versions of heroism take them to the brink of catastrophe and their own control or contorted versions of redemption. That's a really cool storyline.
Yeah. Thank you. It's got elements that very much speak to today.
Yeah.
The whole conspiracy thing that we see.
Yeah.
Conspiracies have been around for a very long time. And, particularly, we all know about the JFK conspiracies, and then, there were the 9/11 conspiracies. And I think most of us understand why people are attracted to conspiracy theories. For one thing, corporate America and the government and all, they have betrayed us. There are reasons we've been lied to. Those are facts. Those are,
And it's kind of like, I forget the actor that played in Network, I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore.
Yeah. People feel that way. I mean, whether it's 3 Mile Island or, what happened to people in Flint, Michigan. So to say
Weapons of mass destruction.
Right. There was, right. And the Vietnam War, the Gulf of Tonkin. And like to say that, the opposing power never lied to us, of course, is ridiculous. But on the other hand, if we don't believe anything, we're equally ignorant. And, so that, that's, as an educator, my job is to teach kids how to figure out what's real and what's not, and not say everything we're told in the media is a lie or everything we're told in the media is the truth.
Right.
You have to have a critical ability. But anyway, in this story, what sets them off is Al. So Al works for a photo shop in Midtown Manhattan. He's a runaway who forged his father's signature to join the army, went to Vietnam, stepped on a landmine and somehow survived and bounced back to the US, sort of lost, living on the streets. This guy who owns a camera store took him in, and he hands out photo coupons on the street and develops film and makes prints in the basement of the photo shop. And so his boss, Leon, who he's never quite sure where he stands with Leon, but Leon, it's sort of one of those relationships where you owe him everything, but you're not it's like at one point he says, when's my debt paid up? And, Leon's answer is, don't ask me.
Right.
But anyway, Leon sets him off with this thing he's read in the paper about the CIA releasing chemicals in the New York subways as an experiment to see what happens. Just messing around with, experimenting with exposing people to various chemicals. And it's been reported in the New York Post. And he starts, and Leon's kind of, saying, hey, you shouldn't ride the subway and, so on. And then Al tells this to Mike, and Mike gets hold of this information and he starts thinking this is what caused his son to be messed up.
Yeah.
And it just, and it kind of escalates from there. I don't want to spoil too much of the plot, but meanwhile, his wife, who's this frustrated actress, answers a cattle call audition for a roach killer. And she goes into the audition and she just nails it. But she does it because she takes all her frustration, all the frustration of her sons and her husband and the oppressiveness of her life, and she turns it on those imaginary roaches. And Mike knows it. He sees the commercial and he knows she's not yelling at roaches. She's yelling at him.
Right.
Two sons.
Right.
But she nails it. And suddenly she's a hero. She's a folk hero in the streets of New York. She's like, her anger at those roaches is the collective anger of an entire city at the roaches and the garbage and the rodents and just everything that's going wrong with this place. So, she becomes this folk hero suddenly. And then Mike starts to feel his own obsolescence, that she's going to make more money for making one commercial than he can make in a whole year. And he's already frustrated because he's a light man. He met her in a theater. She was doing a tour of a Chekhov play and going through Poughkeepsie, and he was running the lights in that theater. He's a self-taught light man, but in New York, he can't get inside the theater. He's the union won't let him. They want him to got to be an apprentice, and they've got a whole system, and he doesn't want any of it. So he's outside the theater running the spotlights. He's the guy, he's like the invisible guy nobody even pays attention to.
Right.
He's running the spotlights outside the theater, resenting the people inside the theater. And that's how they get to know each other. He's out in the street while Al's walking his dog.
Really cool. Modern audiences, I think they're saying, are able to sort of relate to this process of creation, how experience informs, but how fictional dreams take over, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, we are the stories that we, tell ourselves and that other people tell us. That's our psychology. I mean, Freud I think Freud said something like, Shakespeare and Aristotle, the great writers are the psychologists. We just figure out what to call stuff, but the great dramas, the great fiction is the great source of what it means to be human, and how, who we are in this universe and how we see ourselves. And so, it's sad, nowadays, of course, nonfiction outsells fiction, exponentially, but people are looking for the real thing, the truth. But of course, the truth is in fiction is way more. The stuff the things I teach in my literature class is just so much more meaningful and powerful. When you read Shakespeare or Chekhov or Tennessee Williams or James Baldwin or Gabriel Garcia Marquez, well, you read that it's so much deeper. It's so much more profound, and we are so much more in those stories, and they're never dated. They're just, you may have to explain a few things.
Right.
I'm always explaining to my students that gay used to mean happy.
Right.
You read a play from from before somebody says gay, but they get it. I mean, they understand.
Yeah, a lot of songs and Christmas song. A lot of songs have the word in it, right? Exactly. Yeah.
But it's just it's so much richer and deeper.
Yeah.
So I try to get my kids to be fiction readers.
And do they follow your lead? Are they doing that?
Some of them are, yeah. And some of them, some of them tell me years later that they've, oh yeah, I got it. What are those books you told? I'll get an email. What are those books you told us to read?
Yeah. I imagine too that, I remember going back to some of my professors in college and my teachers in middle school and high school, elementary school, and telling them how much whatever it was that they did really touched me or inspired me or motivated me to go into the world I'm in now. I imagine you've heard that. You've had feedback from students who have come back in some way, shape, or form to say that you, Mr. Strauss, really touched me, or something you said really resonated with me. And I went and I took the chance. I took the risk. I believed in myself. I went out there going after the brass ring.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, sure. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, at the very least, they just say thanks. And I think the greatest compliment maybe is how many of my former students have become teachers, because I think, I actually wrote an op-ed about this. When I was hired 30 years ago, my principal was told she couldn't hire me because I was white. And the school district was trying to push that for schools to, to have, for the ethnicity of teachers to more match the students. And there were already a lot of white teachers in the school. So she couldn't hire me. So she hired me as a long-term sub and got me in anyway. but I've never forgotten that. And I've always thought like, well, you know, I got to live up to this. Like she went to bat for me. She said, no, this man is who I want to teach my kids, you know, and she was African-American. And she said, it's not about the teachers, you know, it's not about, you know, the racist teachers, about, you know, are they going to teach my kids? My kids need the best teacher. And this guy, you know, is, of everyone I've interviewed, this is the guy. And I want him. And I always thought like, okay, I got to live up to that. And so what I would say, at least I know of at least 24 of my former students who are now teachers. And of course they're teachers of color. They're not white, and they're teachers now. And so they, you know, so I consider that an accomplishment, because I think by making it look fun,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you know, I not only tried to make the class fun, but I think they all got that I was enjoying it too. And it made teaching look like something that was worth doing.
Oh, there's teachers.
It's good work, but it's fun to do.
Exactly right. Are there teachers that you recall that stood out for you growing up that made a difference?
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah. And I mean, there weren't enough of them, but the good ones, yeah, always stood out. Always stood out. And you think like, yeah, why can't all my teachers be like this? And I think the system is largely at fault. I think a lot of people who are not good teachers or fun teachers probably could be in the right circumstances. Not everyone. I was blessed. I had the right situation at the right moment, you know, and I was able to prosper in it. Not everybody has that. And also I had a boss who wasn't putting pressure on me, the wrong kind of pressure on me. I mean, I put enough pressure on myself.
On yourself, right?
And so yeah, I think a lot of teachers could be a lot better if they were, you know, helped to be, if they were given the right circumstances and the right situation, and, you know, just take the pressure off. Right. Pressure off. Stop worrying about the test scores more than anything else. I mean, you can have the test scores, but they're not the most important thing. The most important thing is, are the kids enjoying school? Are they learning, and are they enjoying school? Because you know what? You're not going to teach them everything. If you think your responsibility is to teach them everything, you're out of your mind. You're ignorant. You're out of your mind. You don't know anything about education. Your job is to teach them enough and make it enjoyable so that they become lifelong learners, so that what you want is, you want kids to come back after the summer and tell you everything they learned and everything they read, not because you made them do it, but because you helped them enjoy learning.
Some of my favorite teachers were the ones that were the warmest. They were funny. They were approachable. They weren't necessarily as militaristic. You know, everybody sit up, shut up, remember the multiplication table in the back of the black speckled book, and that's it. Not explaining or making it creative as to why we had to memorize the multiplication table. Just memorize it, and kids would be
that's
like,
just that's lazy. That's just laziness.
There were a couple of teachers like that.
Oh yeah, You know, what I do now, I come into class. You know, my students are always determined to get me off the topic. Like that's the challenge. Yeah. Can we get him off the topic so that we don't have to do the work? Like that's because they're stressed. My students are stressed. They have a lot to do, and they have a lot. I teach seniors. They're trying to apply to college. They're first generation students. They don't know how they're going to pay for it. Like they're under enormous stress. A lot of them have jobs. So it's like, hey, let's just get him talking so we don't have any work to do. That's their goal. You know, and I used to fight it. And now what I do is I actually start off topic. I just take it off. And then I let them take it further off topic. And then I always find a way to connect it, wherever we go in the first 5 minutes. Yeah. Just relax. We're just talking. And then I always find a way, straight into the lesson. Yeah. And I make it seem like it was their fault. Like, you know,
Yeah.
Whoever said the last thing, everybody looks at him like, why'd you say that? But the truth is, of course, I was planning. It's like when I was a basketball coach.
Mm-hmm.
If I wanted the guys to run 20 suicides, I'd say, all right, so and so, you cut class the other day. I heard he's got a D, and okay, we're gonna run 5 for him. We're gonna run 5. I'd make it okay. We're gonna punish. Everybody's gonna suffer because he's got a D in his class, but they're gonna run the same suicides I was gonna have them run anyway.
Right.
But they're just gonna know, like, you caused them to run those suicides. So, it's control, but without having to feel like you have to control every minute, because
right.
Just trust the process. Trust the process.
Exactly.
Trust that you can deliver what.
And you make it creative and you make it fun. I remember I had a professor, one of the very first ones in college in New York, and it was Broadcasting 101. And I won't mention his name in case he watches, but he was, probably long retired. But he would, you could tell that he was just reading verbatim the same stuff he was saying year after year, as I guess he was getting closer maybe to retirement. He would actually not even be at his desk seated or use a blackboard or any sort of audio visual. Here we are in broadcasting where you would use a lot of audio and visual. He didn't at all. He was just reading, talking about Marconi and just all these other things. And he had this notepad, which was that yellow blue lined ledger paper. And he literally would stand in front of his desk and sort of lean against it, almost halfway sit on it, and just look down with his glasses. He had sort of a funky hat on and his blazer. He was older at the time. And just read from it. Just read and then flip the page and then read the rest and just flip the next page and just read. And we would all be like, what's going on here? And it was just it was rote. It was just over and over and over again. And it was just really an interesting, I remember that. And then there was one where it was the philosophy teacher who walked in the room with a cup of coffee and his books. And he threw the books across the floor. And then he said, all right now, I want everybody to write an essay. You've got 15 minutes. Tell me, again, in philosophy class, why did I throw the books across the floor? So we had 15 minutes to so everybody's writing, the Gettysburg Address, they're writing Moby Dick, they're writing novels they're really digging deep as to why the philosophy professor would just throw the books across the floor in front of the class like that. Not even coming in and saying good afternoon, just coming in and throwing the books and almost spilling his coffee. So he collects all the papers and he starts, reading them off. And then he said, you want to know why I threw the books across the floor? You know what the answer was? What do you think his answer was? Now, again, they were really going deep. They were really trying to break down, a psychological analysis of a philosophical reason why he just took those books. He came in with
because all texts are relative, and yes, but the real reason was he wanted to get their attention. Well, that actually probably is the reason, but maybe he didn't admit that. He wanted to get your attention. You
know what he said? You know what his big answer was after they wrote?
Yeah, what?
It was, I felt like it.
Oh, okay.
Which totally threw them off because they were writing, they were really going in the other direction. Right. Oh, he's going to expect something very deep and it has to be, and he says, I just felt like doing it. There was no, don't overthink it. Don't overanalyze it. I just felt like throwing the books on the floor. Sort of a gotcha.
That's good.
He didn't, nobody got it graded on that. It was just like one of those ad hoc experimental things that he did.
Remember it.
I want to let the audience know too that again, this isn't your first rodeo. Author of 4 previous novels too, including Now's the Time, now an Earphone Award-winning audiobook, and numerous nonfiction titles, including Students First and Other Lie, collection of essays, mostly about education. Your short fiction has appeared in Streetlight, Extracts, and elsewhere. Op-eds and other nonfiction have appeared in USA Today, for which you are an opinion columnist, The Guardian, Huffington Post, an ambassador, In-Flight Magazine, Trans World Airlines too. And I think that's really cool. And if somebody grew up in the 80s, you might have seen some of the episodes that you wrote for the first generation Transformers cartoons.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, I did.
How cool is that? What was that like?
It was very interesting. I had a literary agent who was connected to the woman who ran Marvel Productions, and got me into it. I was not a robot animation guy by any means. I had not written a spec script, but she gave me a shot. She read a novel I'd written and gave me a shot at it. It was fun. It was fun. I mean, I would watch the shows, and it was hard for me to follow what I'd written because it was so fast. And but it was a lot of fun writing those. I mean, basically it was a product. It was a toy that was made into a show. But of course, my 5-year-old cousins thought I was Charles Dickens or something because I'd written.
Yes.
I mean, still, kids, my students are still impressed when they see, like, you wrote that show.
Yeah, right.
What I really get a kick out of, though, is there are like 30 and 40-year-old guys now on YouTube critiquing my episodes.
Are they really?
Giving critiques of the episodes I wrote, which is hilarious. They see all the holes in the, in the plot. But, but you just see they just do it with love. Like, they really love that show. But as they get older, they see how some of it doesn't quite make sense.
It doesn't kind of compute.
Well, talking robots. I mean, the whole thing. I'll never forget. We were working on the finale, the season 1 finale. It was a 3-parter. I think it was actually released as a feature film, and I wrote one of those 3. And the premise was that the Decepticon robots, who were always trying to steal energy. It was very 80s, right?
Yes,
like,
right. Oh yeah, Inspector Gadget type stuff and all that. Yeah.
And so the plot was they were going to cause natural disasters on Earth and harness the energy. So they were going to cause floods and typhoons and earthquakes and hurricanes, and they were going to harness the energy. And I was in a meeting.
Is that what's happening now?
That must be what's happening now. The Decepticons are taking over.
Yeah.
And I remember being in a meeting, and somebody asked, well, how do you harness the energy of an earthquake? And one of the producers said the average age of our audience is 7 years old. You take a bleeping tube and you put it in the bleeping ground, and then the energy comes out of the tube,
and that's it.
And that's how you do. Like, we're not physicists here,
right? And if you want to know when to get the tube ready, just watch your dog do circles in the kitchen before the earthquake comes, because they're a good predictor of what's coming down the pike. Right. That is funny. Wow. So do you see more books coming down your pike? Is there more in you, Larry?
I hope so. Yeah. I'm working on a few. I'm working on a YA book. I've been encouraged for a long time to write for the young adult audience. I work with kids all the time, so I'm working on a YA, and I have another adult novel. I'm working a couple of them actually.
That is cool. That is cool. Your son is your son interested in any of this? His grandmother, his grandfather being who they were, does that spark his interest in entertainment and performance at all, from what you're seeing?
He makes music.
He makes music.
He's very interested in my father's work. He didn't really know my father for very long.
Yeah.
but he's he makes music. He produces music, and
that's great.
That's his thing.
Your parents, your mother and father, I would imagine proud that you went into education and into teaching. Your mother speak on that?
I think so. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. She always bragging about,
That's my son.
what's the name of your school that you
Yeah.
teach at? She always wanted to tell her friends about it. Yeah, I was very sad that about 3 months after she passed away, I was teacher of the month for city of LA. And it was like TV and all this stuff. And I was like, why couldn't you guys do this a year ago?
Right.
She would have been she would have been bragging to her friends. She would have made all her friends watched it. And
yeah.
So yeah, I mean, they were proud of whatever I did, though. They would have been proud of me, whatever I did. They were really good that way. I mean, the one thing, my mother was always leery of me. I had some thespian ambitions briefly. I did stand up. I did, I was gonna do some acting, and she was very weary of that, and rightly so. It's really hard.
Yeah.
I took some acting classes, and
did you?
Some really top people, and some really top young actors in those classes, and I was just like, I don't know, I don't think this is for me.
Yeah.
Very intense.
Yeah.
Very very difficult work. I mean, not to mention the career stuff, which is it's impossible.
It is right. And then you never know the hours, and if you have a family, it's tougher, and now it's crazier than ever. The structure has changed so much. All of it has changed in such a different way. Now, I mean, now people are doing so much stuff out of their houses, especially with the pandemic. How was it with you with the students? I know you and I were chatting before we went live on the air, how you're just so happy to be in person again. That must, I was, kids today, students, it's been a real crazy time for them. The back and the forth, the in and out, and they're watching what all the adults are trying to figure out, and they're yelling and screaming and arguing. And it's been a very rough 2 years.
Kids are resilient, though.
Yeah. Right.
And I mean, I think they're going to bounce back, but it has been rough. And I think it's important to be patient with them. And, we got to restore their faith in adults, although they're going to be adults soon too. So it's going to be on them. I remember when we first went out, and I actually wrote an op-ed that day. It ran like the next day. My editor called me and said, you got something for me on this? It was all, everybody remembers how crazy it was. We went from like, oh, it looks like maybe something's going to happen, to suddenly like the NBA stops games and Tom Hanks has it. I mean, I remember that night.
Remember that? Yes, they were in Australia, I think.
Yeah. And then the next day we went into work pretty much anticipating that we were going to go, this was going to be our last day for a while.
Yeah.
We were told to prepare 2 weeks of lessons and hand it out to students. 2 weeks. And we're all like, what's going to happen in 2 weeks? 2 weeks. That's not,
Yeah.
The CDC is saying a year to 18 months, and they're saying 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And, and then it was announced officially. And, but I remember that day was was really such an odd day. The kids, just the sense from the kids, not just because of the uncertainty, but because it became so clear to them, adults don't know what
they're doing. Right.
We have lost control, and we never had control, of course, but like it really seemed. And I remember talking to two boys who worked at the same supermarket. They had, they were both, I guess they did bagging, and, they were just wherever. They were not checkers, but they were working at the same supermarket.
Yeah.
I remember they were both like, man, people are, they'd witnessed like people fighting each other and pulling weapons on each other,
grabbing the toilet paper
and water. And that freaked them out more than anything. It's like, and they had the community where I teach, unfortunately, a lot of students have seen violence.
Yeah.
And they've seen, there's still a lot of gang activity, and they've seen a lot of bad stuff. But this was different because these were people, these were not,
right.
gang
What you'd
these
expect.
These were
Oh,
like
yeah.
regular adults who, under normal circumstances, would be just calmly standing in line talking to each other, and that shook them. That shook them to the core.
I have a friend that works for a major supermarket chain, and he told me he was, doing the cashier. They would rotate all the different things they had to do, and they put him on the register that particular hour or whatever. And a woman, educated, well dressed, I don't know, middle to upper 50s maybe. She had her asparagus tips, and she had the organic water and all the different things, and goes up to him and says, what the hell is that thing on your face? And he chose to wear the mask because it was at that time, and the store gave things were loosening and getting better to where the store gave the employees the option to wear it or not, and he chose to still wear it, which is actually benefiting her, not him. If she wears it, it benefits him. And he was totally, it like ruined his day, because he was like, wow, I'm standing there, I'm helping her, I'm serving her, and she, doesn't fit the bill. And yet at the same time, just comes out of the blue in front of everybody and says that. Some people would have said, something that would have shocked her in return, but he didn't. He just said, this is what I choose to do. And that'll be $89.95, madam. That's it. But that's the kind of thing that's going on, which is crazy.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I will say my students are not doing that at all. They're amazingly, been amazingly resilient and flexible, and they're wearing masks. I mean, I occasionally have to remind them to cover their noses. I try to give them time, especially the kids who wear glasses. I try to give them a little leeway, especially if they're not close to anyone. But there's no resistance. There's no fight in it, and there's not a lot of resistance to them getting vaccinated, it seems. But I think these kids come from communities where a lot of people have had to work through the whole pandemic, and they've seen their grandparents and parents a lot of them have been sick already. Some of them have been sick, and they still have symptoms, like they still not right. They feel like they're not right. Most of them are fully recovered, but some of them have lost grandparents and uncles and stuff. And so, it's not really a political issue to them. They get it. Like this is a health thing. And they understand like the whole concept of a virus. I think as an educator, I feel ashamed at how many people don't seem to understand that it's invisible, and it only can live in a host. So when somebody dies, when somebody suffocates to death in a hospital from this disease, there may be 10 or 20 or 50 other people who were part of that chain that passed it on to them. And that's what if somebody asks me, why am I wearing a mask? And I've been vaccinated.
Me too.
So it's a lower level of risk. But why am I wearing a mask? Because I don't want to be responsible for, I have a good immune system. I've worked with kids 30 years. I've fought off the manner of
virus. Been a lot of colds and sniffles.
I'm confident, but I don't want to be part of somebody else's tragedy. I just don't want to do that. So I'm willing to, and I don't like wearing a mask. I hate teaching with a mask on. I mean, I'm used to it now, but I'm shouting all day because I can't hear myself talk.
Right.
And I can't, and the kids don't talk loud enough, so I don't hear them. But I mean, we're making do, and it's I mean, that's a learning experience too. It's all it's all part of the learning experience. We're in this together, and and hopefully we'll be out of it together soon.
Absolutely.
But, as much as I hate teaching with a mask on, it's better than trying to teach through a computer.
Right, exactly. Yeah, you want to be there, you want to be hands-on and eye contact and hearing the voice, and there's only so much you can really do.
And seeing the kids in the hallway between class, that's what I miss the most. It's like the students who are now seniors, they were in my class 2 years ago, and normally I would see them the year that they're not in my class. I teach 10th and then 12th, and last year I was like, they disappeared and I disappeared. I mean, that I really miss that, just seeing them in the hallway and tapping fists and saying something, flicking them off, whatever, just interacting with the kids is
it's a whole part of it.
I'm glad we're back, and I'm confident. I think we're good. I think we're gonna, I don't think we're gonna be shutting the schools down.
Yeah. We're here in the Northeast, here in the New York, New Jersey, Connecticut area, and that's where the show comes out of. And we're doing well. They jumped on it early. It hit this area first.
I know. I remember. But I know a lot of people in the area.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Because from the area originally.
Lives in Middle Village, Queens, which was that whole area. I remember thinking like, gosh, I wonder how Corona Queens is doing in the coronavirus.
Right.
I looked it up, and at one point it was the worst. It was the worst. It was like the epicenter, ironically or coincidentally enough.
Right.
Corona was the center of Corona.
Do you get back east at all? Family back east still?
Yeah. Well, we have a daughter who lives in Boston and has 2 kids, so we were there over the summer.
Oh, that's great.
We tried to get there. We hadn't been there for a year and a half because of COVID. But
we just had a family reunion out east on Long Island a week ago with my birthday, my brother-in-law's birthday, my nephew's birthday, and everybody. Family came up from Florida, down from Connecticut, New York, everywhere, and everybody met out, east in the homestead of Long Island out east, and it was so nice because we couldn't get together for the longest time either. Which, that's the relatives are getting older and time's passing.
I know. My aunt turned 90 in
God bless her, huh?
April of 2020, and we had to do it on Zoom.
Yeah, right.
And listen, as bad as it is teaching a class on Zoom, a family party on Zoom is 10 times worse. It's just nobody really knows what to do. Either everybody's talking at once, and then all the old people are like, wait, what?
Right. Yeah. I had a friend who they tried to round up his
people, but
one of my friends, they tried to round up, I guess, all the relatives, his relatives and all the different ages, and some of them are older and everything, and try to get them all on Zoom so they could do this whole Passover situation, which was very difficult for some of them, to try to figure out how to get this technologically going. It's kind of like a whole thing. I mean, God, what was the only time we heard Zoom before that? Zoom with Mazda, and the kids show Zoom on PBS.
By the way, excuse me for a second. I just realized I'm sitting in the dark.
That was kind of cool lighting. It was sort of.
It was. Can't get the light all through Zoom. I was like not getting the lighting right. Either it was too much and I look like a ghost, or But yeah, it was the sun was still out when we started. Now it's dark outside. So
that's it. People want to know, did you read all those books that are behind you on that huge shelf?
Every one of them. The ones I didn't write. Yeah.
Yeah. Because so many people are doing the Zooms now. They have the we don't use Zoom for this show, but the and they'll have like these fake shelves behind them, which sort of makes it look better or something. And the books aren't real.
Right. No, you can tell those are, and actually the ones, I don't know if you can see the binders. There's like a row of binders there. Those are all writing projects I'm working on that are unfinished. Maybe never will be finished.
That is cool. Wow. That is awesome. We want to show the book again. So at the time of this show, we're here in like mid-October. The book is sort of,
here it is.
Oh, you got it. Yeah. I can't wait to read
Actually,
it.
you have, for some reason, the cover was changed. The font's a little different, but it's basically the same. Why can't I hold it straight there? Light man.
Actually, that font is bolder.
Yeah. I like this one better. And it feels a little
got
more
a nice gloss to it.
Yeah. Anyway, there it is.
That's terrific. Really nice. So the book itself, because I know a lot of people have been asking about the book, this is a very proactive audience. They've been commenting all throughout, and they've been really praising you for the work that you do as a teacher.
Okay. Thank you, everyone.
A lot of them, of course, love your mother as the television icon that she certainly was and still is in the hearts and minds of so many people. And I've always admired her as well. The book is sort of like you can pre-order it now to get the physical version. Is that what it is? It's coming out.
I think so. Yeah, I think you pre-order on Amazon. It should be out by the end of this month. It should be available by the end of this month. The ebook is already available on Amazon and elsewhere. If you can't pre-order, go back and pre-order it. Please don't forget about it.
Yeah, we'll remind them. Yes, we will check in with the Lovity viewers. And
by the way, I should say it's funny. I mean, it's dark humor. And I think Al, the narrator, Tells the story. This guy who develops photographs. He sees himself as just this invisible guy trying to get through his life.
Yeah.
But he is looking at other people's lives in these photographs, and and finally he does come alive, and he gets his hero moment. It's just not like anything like you would think, but he gets his hero moment and gets to feel like his life has amounted to something. But it's fun, and I think he's a very likable guy. He's and in a way the book is very deeply philosophical, although it's told from the point of view of a guy who would never think of himself as philosophical at all, except that everyone is. We're all philosophers. We're trying to figure out, what are we doing here? What is this?
Right.
And what is our life about? Where are we going? Those are questions we're always trying to answer. So we're all philosophers, and I've always been more interested in the philosophy of ordinary people than in the sort of pompous philosophy of philosophers.
Right.
Those philosophers.
Sometimes you just take the books, throw them on the floor because you want to.
Sometimes
there's no other deep reason that I just felt like it.
Of course, here you don't have to throw the books on the floor, because the next time there's an earthquake, those will all be on the floor, and the CDs next to them.
And the CDs
which I won't get rid of. My wife says, "Why do you have them?" We don't.
I got a storage bin filled with CDs, sealed LPs, big music collection, and vinyl. Still have the Onkyo turntable and speakers and double cassette deck and all that stuff. Still have all that.
Never give it up.
No,
never give it up. Because one day, what if Pandora and Spotify decide to just cut us off? You gotta have it back up. You gotta have
something about the sound too, coming out of the bigger speakers and filling the house versus an earbud forced in your ear, and that tinny, flat, compressed sound.
Oh yeah, it's true. The compressed sound is different. I remember.
Music's recorded louder too now. They record it louder.
Yeah. No, I know. I listen to Yeah, sometimes I'm really a jazz. I'm really
Oh yeah,
a jazz
yeah,
guy. Now's the
yeah.
time is all about that. By the way, anybody love jazz?
I do.
For me, now's the time because it's about like 50s, 60s jazz, and but I love still discovering something from 60 was recorded 60 years ago that I don't know yet.
Wow.
And it's like it was just recorded, and you know the things that were recorded in the 40s, you can tell like the quality is
Yeah.
You know,
A little bit
but
different.
by the late 50s, it's as good as it is now. I mean,
right.
better maybe. I mean,
Yes.
this, where is it? This album. Look, I made a tissue case out of it because somebody bought me
Miles
this.
Davis, yeah.
Somebody bought me Miles Davis Kind of Blue and Miles Davis Birth of the Cool as if I didn't already have it. Like, come on, guys. And I meant to take it back, but instead I just like made a tissue thing out of it. So, and if anything happens to my other copies, I have backups. But these albums, like they sound like they were recorded yesterday or better. So definitely.
So nobody's ever tried to cast you as a action figure or superhero or anything. Merlin in Canada had said, "How tall is he? He's got a deep voice. Does that intimidate students at all? Because he's probably tall and he's got the deep voice. He gets the respect."
I'm very intimidating. The shaved head is the most intimidating thing, though. I think I've noticed people are much more polite to me since I shaved my
Were you
head.
auditioning for the Mr. Clean commercial?
Oh, God, there you go again. My students.
You've heard that before? That students say
My
that?
students want me to be
To be
Mr.
the
Clean
new
for
Mr.
Halloween.
Clean?
Every year they ask me to do that. Bring a mop and a
I
bucket.
guess you're gonna have to. If your mother did Charmin, you got to do the Mr.
I know.
Clean.
my daughter posted a picture of Mr. Clean on Facebook and tagged me. So yeah.
Yes, the writing's on the wall.
Yeah, there's
Of
that.
all the things you've done in your career,
Yeah.
that's the one that.
No, it's funny you say it. Some kids are intimidated but I'm not an intimidating person.
Right?
No.
Exactly.
Except, you know what, when you become a teacher, you do get that stare, and you do develop that stare, that "why don't you stop talking" stare.
Right.
Why don't you,
Wait, are you the one giving the stare, or are they giving it to you?
Oh no, I'm the one giving the stare.
You're giving it to them.
I know a veteran teacher can win a stare down most of the time.
Yeah. Well, I just want to show you some of the cool things that folks have been saying. Austin Field says another excellent show. Appreciate that, Austin. Joan Sando says, thank you for sharing your love of teaching with us. Truly is a gift. Thank you, Joan. Maureen, who's a nurse in Arizona, getting ready to retire, many years, first responder, the whole bit. I have so much respect for teachers. There seems to be a lot of parents who do not take an interest in their children's education, making a teacher's job even more challenging. Mega kudos to Larry.
Thank you, Maureen. And I have equal respect for nurses. Thanks for your work.
Absolutely. Merlin in Canada says, that's awesome, Larry. Good for you being a great teacher. And she's the one who asked, how tall are you? And with your deep voice, could you be intimidating? LOL.
I used to be 6'1". I think I've shrunk. I won't let them measure me at the doctors, but I'm pretty sure I'm not 6'1" anymore.
David Kublin says, I absolutely adored Charlotte Rae on both seasons of two. That was the other one I showed pictures earlier. Car 54. Where are you? I mean, well known for that one. And every season of Facts of Life and TV guides, and he's got the TV guides.
By the way, David, my father wrote that theme song for Car 54.
Oh, really? Car 54. Where are you? Your father wrote the theme song to that.
He wrote that. Yeah.
Now, even I didn't know that. Wow. And I work in TV. That's a see, you heard that here, gang. Really, really cool. Your mom has a beautiful smile. Now Jane's watching Late Night in Sweden. She's one of our lovely viewers. She says, I wish I had a teacher like Larry when I was in school.
Oh, thank you.
David says, thank you. Sherry Larson was welcoming you as well. whole group of really cool people here. This really was fantastic. And, there's somebody that is sort of my sidekick here on the Jim Masters show, live, Larry, that sort of sits here, he watches, he has his little martini, and then he pops in towards the end. And he just wanted to say that you knocked it out of the park, kiddo. Mr. George Burns is with us.
Hey, George.
There he is. Your mother probably
for a minute,
with him.
For a minute, I thought God was in your studio, but then I remembered
he kind of
he just played the part.
And there he is with the cigar and the whole bit. This was my aunt's. She collected dolls and got passed down to me. And I guess when he turned 100, they came out with a limited edition of these, and she got it, and now it's here. And so he just said, you knocked it out of the kid, and good night, Gracie, right? Another iconic character. We talked a lot about your incredible career, and again, kudos to you for what you're doing. You're inspiring minds in ways that go beyond anything that could even be written, and doing it, in atmospheres where they don't always have all the breaks that some of the wealthier zip codes have, and more suburban situations have, or even some rural situations. You're really taking it on head on, and I think it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. And obviously the inspirations come from the family, the parents, but you decided to go in your own individual direction, and are a prolific writer. And again, all these novels and columns and everything you've done, really, really fantastic stuff, Larry. And of course, we all want to know the day that she was with Muhammad Ali. Were you there?
No, one of my great regrets. I don't know why I wasn't. I don't know if she.
That was the day to be on set, huh?
No, I could have met. Yeah,
Muhammad Ali.
I did get to meet Michael Jackson.
Did you?
Through her. When she was on the Rich Little show.
Oh yeah, Rich Little.
She was a regular. The show only lasted one season. Should have lasted longer.
Yes.
And she did some of her funniest work. She may have done her funniest work on that show. If anybody has an opportunity to see those episodes,
yes,
she did this routine. I don't know how many versions of it they did, but it was always where Rich Little was just like this everyman, and she was like this slightly off woman who, it's like he ate the last piece of pie. He took the last piece of pie at a diner, and she needed it, and she would just like go berserk, and it was so funny. But anyway, they had the Jackson 5 where they were guests one week, and I got to meet them all. I actually liked I think it was Tito. Tito was the one I liked. He was probably closer in my age. Michael was just very shy. He was so shy.
Yes,
very nice.
Very nice, but very just shy and
so shy. But the other guys were really outgoing, and like I say, Tito, I thought, if he wasn't part of a hit group traveling all over the world or something, we could have
hung out and we could have been friends, right?
Really cool guy, yeah.
What would maybe another one or two other maybe quick experiences like that you had as a result of being, that not even a degree of separation from it all, being right there in the thick of it all through your parents?
Yeah. Wow. I got
some things where you were like, wow, that's cool. That would never have normally happened.
Well, I got to take one of my daughters to the Sesame Street set when she was just that age. Yeah.
Wow.
Because I think some of the people, this would have been in the early 90s, late 80s. And some of the people from her, when she was there in the early 70s, some of the people were still there, so they knew her.
Yes.
And so we had total access to the set and everything. That was great. That was a lot of fun. I will say, as a parent, it felt like even more of an advantage, to me as a parent, that I could, introduce my kid to things. That was really nice.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But Yeah, it's funny, the great experiences. I mean, I guess I learned, like, I remember meeting James Earl Jones, who, I had such an admiration for as an actor. We were at the theater one night. I was seeing a show with her, and he was in the audience, and she just introduced me to him, and it was a great honor to meet him.
Oh, yeah.
August Wilson too. August Wilson is great,
Another.
one of the great playwrights, American playwrights, whose books I teach in my class. I got to shake his hand, but I mean those, it's just shaking. I guess the greatest lesson of that was just they're people. They're just regular people. There's no magic in them as people any more than there's magic to any of us.
Right.
We're all amazing, complicated people. They just happen to create, things, that make them stand out.
And when it's comedic, when there's humor and heart attached, which your mother certainly brought to the table, as far as the well-known television side of things. Of course, like you say, she classically trained and loved the classics as well, but there was something about her authenticity, which we mentioned earlier, the heart with the humor, that really made her so relatable to generations of people. And still today, when there's reruns and re-airs of these shows, that now people are craving. They're craving the nostalgia, the Car 54s, Diff'rent Strokes, Facts of Life, all of this, the old commercials. And the pandemic has brought that on too, as people home baking bread and they're watching reruns of Dick Van Dyke. And
you can't buy flour anywhere.
Now you can't even get the flour because the ships are off LA there. But watching the nostalgic, well-written shows, it just reminds them of their childhood and the relatability. Your mother definitely had a relatability that isn't always something that comes through the screen with a lot of people. She had a warmth and a relatability that really touched a lot of people. And I know your family and you are fully aware of that. How do your kids feel about, like, when they see her on TV on these shows and like somebody comes up to them and said, "That's your grandmother? That Mrs. Garrett, or this one or that one is your grandmother?" There's a little bit of a cool factor to that too, but they must be very wow.
They're very proud of her work, and they're still discovering it in a lot of ways, because we didn't, we didn't want to inundate them with everything they've done. It's in a way it's better
their grandmother, right?
Discover it, let them discover what they're. I mean, it's the same with my work. I don't, as my kids get older, they'll just decide whether they want to read my books or not. I'm not gonna hand it to them and say, "Hey, read Dad's book." It's weird. It's weird when your dad writes a novel, and especially like if there's sex in it. It's just so. Let them discover. And by the way, my mother had that scene in the Zohan. I mean, that's my mother had a sort of a sex scene with. So, I mean, there's some.
I said, versatility. Hey, she was in Paul Lynde's bathtub. I mean, you saw that episode, right?
Yeah, of course. Oh, Paul Lynde, I got to meet. He was in our apartment one time.
What was it like meeting Paul Lynde?
He was a funny guy. He was a lot like. He was a lot like what you think he is.
The character
in person. Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, I'm sure there was another side to him, but at least when I met him, he seemed a lot like, Uncle Arthur. That's how I know him.
Yes, from Bewitched.
Yeah.
Your mother also, we didn't touch upon it real brief, wonderful singing voice too.
Oh yeah. She had a beautiful voice. And she recorded one album of her own called Songs I Taught My Mother, which I think you can still buy. I think you can listen to it on Spotify. Really, I mean, amazing work. My dad did the arrangements on the album too. You can hear him playing.
Did he really?
Yeah,
Wow.
And
cool.
some of the songs are very specialized. Sheldon Harnick, who wrote Fiddler on the Roof, wrote special material for her. He credits her with his career. Basically, only because she told him to get his behind to New York. He was going to be a violin player and stay in the Midwest. And she said, "You got to come to New York. They need people like you. They need people who can write like you. Special material, songs. There's a place for you in New York." She didn't say, "Come to New York and write Fiddler on the Roof." I mean, he figured that out on his own.
On his own, right?
But he's always been very indebted to her just for encouraging him, to do that, to come to New York.
That's cool.
Yeah. And, but she and Paul were friends back in New York too. And Cloris Leachman.
Yeah. Conrad Bain, of course. And what about the kids, like the Toady Fields and Nancy McKeon and some of the Lisa Whelchel and Tom Bridges and all the rest of them? I know they would see each other like at TV Land Awards and a lot of different things over the years too, right?
Yeah. They were all very protective of her and especially as she got older, very, very nice to her, very close to her. I mean, it was rough. It's rough being a teenager, being on a show.
Yes.
And it's just that life is it's very hard. And then, you're working with this person and they're an adult, and the relationships were complicated at that time. And they were also kind of, they couldn't really get that close while they were doing the show because the girls were never really that sure that she was one of them because it was her show.
Right.
And so, she was sort of, they thought of her the way they thought of the producers. And whereas they thought of each other more as,
as pals and buddies,
camaraderie. Yeah. But as they got older, as they all became women and, they came to, appreciate her and they were all very close to her. I talked to every one of them the night she passed away. They all called within minutes of the news getting hold of it. I had her cell phone in my back pocket. I remember it just, it never stopped ringing.
I would imagine over time, as the series went on, they started to really think of her as like a maternal, motherly figure. Yeah,
I think so. I think so. And even though she liked to think of them as just, they're equals. I think they had that going also.
That's a fantastic shot of her and Gary Coleman.
Yeah.
It really,
and I think also I think they came to respect her, as an actress more and more as they got older, and probably learned more about her career. That she had done all these things, and that she continued to do. She continued to act and take on challenging roles. She did another Beckett play the year before she passed away when she was 91. She did Endgame out here in LA. It was amazing.
That's right.
I was like in tears the whole time just watching her. I mean, she was going through cancer treatment at the time.
Yeah.
And I mean, I always used to joke with her about how she was going to die on stage.
Right.
That was kind of
right. That would be the big finale, right?
And then you go off in the wings, and
the spotlight fades to black, and curtain goes down, and
didn't quite happen that way, but pretty close though. I mean, she was 91 years old doing. I think she she said she couldn't do 7 shows a week. She did 4. Yeah. They found another actress to do the other 3, but that was pretty remarkable.
Amazing, really amazing stuff. I just wish I had a couple more comments here. Just Merlin in Canada saying, thanks, Larry. Totally enjoyed being with you this evening. Now go have supper. They made it. I think
there's any food left.
They made a plate for him. Maureen says, keep on being. You smell what? What do you smell?
I smell the food.
This is a foodie crowd, Larry. What are you smelling? What is it? What's in there?
I think they got Chinese food. We just had the place cleaned, so nobody's in the kitchen. Yeah.
Just for our show, he had his place cleaned. Is that amazing? He's a class act, this guy.
I didn't want the books to look dusty.
Maureen says, keep on being that 1 in a million teacher, Larry. You are definitely touching our future in an incredible way. Really nicely said. Sherry Larson in Kansas says, thank you for sharing your time and stories with us. You sound like a great teacher, the type of teacher we wish our kids would have had, her kids. That's really nice. Amy says, and Amy's a poet, and she says, great show. Teaching is a gift. Thank you for your dedication. God bless. Thank you so much, Larry, from Maureen. Mary Bishop says she's in Florida. Thanks for sharing the stories about you and your mom, Larry. Take care. Jane is still watching, where it's, I think, 3 a.m. in Sweden. This has been a great, interesting show. Thanks, Jim and Larry. Our pleasure as well. And I like this. I've been listening to Larry and Jim. What an interesting and deep conversation. The book looks incredible. Larry is an amazing levity. Got us thinking tonight, Larry. And Amy goes, very true. Kathleen Walker in New York City, in Queens, New York. Great show. Queens. Thanks, Jim. Yeah, Queens. Yeah.
Queens.
She works for the New York Mets too, who didn't really fare too well this year.
Well, it's always next year. I remember 69 and 73, the amazing Mets. It's an example of irony. Well, is it irony? Paradox? It's something. They were amazingly bad, and then they became amazingly the World Series champions.
86 as well. Yeah, that's right.
73 was "You Gotta Believe." That was the slogan.
Ed Kranepool and Felix Millan, and all the rest.
I met Ron Taylor. He was
did you?
A friend of mine's father, I think, was his lawyer or accountant or something, and Ron came to my friend's birthday party. I have a picture with Ron Taylor.
Wow.
Relief pitcher. Yeah.
So you guys left New York when you were about 15. So before that, did you go to Shea or Yankee Stadium?
Oh yeah, both. My dad took me. Yeah, I saw the Yankees and the Giants. Giants used to play at Yankee Stadium.
Right. And the Jets I think, played at
I don't know if I ever saw a Jet game at Shea Stadium, but I know I saw a Giant game at Yankee Stadium, and then I saw the Mets and I saw the Yankees and I saw the Knicks. I was at the Garden when Willis Reed came stumbling out on the court in that Game 7, that famous, iconic Game 7. Right. I was there. We went to the whole thing. I mean, the tickets weren't that expensive back then. We sat in the upper bowl. We sat all the way in the top. And in the fourth quarter, there were fights would break out in the stands all around us. It was crazy, but it was absolutely great. It's one of my father, who was never very interested in sports. He'd been raised, he'd been a piano playing, musician kid, never had any sports interest. And, but he took me to everything.
Yeah. So well-rounded background growing up, which was kind of cool. Yeah, that's fantastic. So do you have your bagels and your pizza shipped from New York out west?
No. We have a few good pizza places. And I mean, the bagel you can get okay, but no, the bagels aren't the same. No, the thing we miss the most though is the fresh cut lox, which the only place I know of anywhere in the world that does that is Zabar's. I'm sure there are other places that do it, but I don't know where there's another Zabar's, and that's a huge disappointment for us.
And then you were in Boston visiting your daughter, the chowder, the New England clam chowder, the lobster, chowder, and the Red Sox. I know the Red Sox right now. They're Red Sox and the Patriots. Jane reports that it's 3:55 a.m. in Sweden. Time to go to bed, Jane. She stays up watching our show, and it's about an hour before she goes to work at the airport. She's a real trooper.
Thank you, Jane. And I probably should go get my dinner.
Yeah, you got to go get dinner. Thanks a million
Thank you.
for sharing this time with us, Larry. This really was awesome. A great,
Thank
great
you.
conversation. We hit a lot of great topics, and congratulations on the book. And we will show the book one more time so they can see
Sure.
the actual new look of it.
Yeah. Now, how do I get that glare off of there? There. Light man.
That is cool. How did you come up with the cover, the design of the cover?
The publisher is really good at the design. The Now's the Time cover is really good. He did an original illustration. But I think, the lights, obviously the spotlights from the guy on the street running the spotlights, that's a whole thing, a whole motif, a whole symbolic element. And then just that New York 70s Midtown look.
Yeah.
It just seemed right. By the way, the back cover is really interesting. There's a roll of film because Al, that's what Al does. He develops film, and he's kind of facing his own obsolescence as machines are taking over his work. But the photographs inside of the film are they're actually my pictures from my childhood. There's pictures of my brother and me on the Staten Island ferry, and this is a picture of our street, the street we lived on. My brother used to snap pictures, like just go through a whole roll of film, snap, 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 snap. Yeah. It was like part of his autism.
Is he still with us, your brother?
No, he passed away back in 1999.
He did, yeah.
And he would just snap these rolls.
He would be,
through them one after the other. And my father always got them developed.
That's fantastic.
And so that's something that made it into the book.
Seeing it through his eyes.
Developed, and it's almost as if he hopes that somehow those photographs can unlock something in his son's mind.
Yeah.
And can save him from this, this illness, can help fix him.
Yeah.
And so that's one of the things that connects them, because Al is willing to develop all these pictures for him for free, because it's expensive to do.
Right.
He feels like he's helping this man who he admires, who made this special hat that calms him down because it reflects the light off the sun.
That is so cool.
That whole idea of just trying to reach people. It's never been more timely. How do we reach each other? We have the internet and social media, and there's so many ways that we can reach out to people, and yet we're disconnected. We're more disconnected than ever.
I second that, absolutely.
And we understand less about each other in a way than ever. And it's kind of a desperate human need to get past that and understand each other and make real connections. So
all these perfect Instagram photos that are triple photoshopped and not real, and it's a whole other world time period.
Yeah.
But
anyway, hopefully some of your listeners can find a little meaning in the pages here.
Absolutely. And again, congratulations on that and everything that you're doing. And again, it was really awesome having you here. And I think people learned a little bit more about the family dynamic and your brilliant mom, your dad, you, and this was really, really cool, my friend. I hope the show met whatever expectations you had, and you enjoyed the time with me as much as I certainly have with you, Larry.
Definitely. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
Talk to you anytime.
Absolutely. We'll keep the porch light on for you. And now, as we say to all the guests, go stretch those legs. That's it. Larry, you're the best. Thanks for all the time. Good luck with the book. We're going to all go run out and grab it. This is a proactive crowd. They're already saying they're looking to order it already. So that's cool.
Right.
And we'll talk to you again. Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Enjoy dinner.
Thanks.
Take care. Bye-bye now.
Bye.
Larry Strauss joining us live and direct from Los Angeles, California. Really cool conversation. Great guy. Giving back, paying it forward in a way that really is amazing. And thanks for all the comments as well. Maureen says, you are so incredibly wise and insightful, Larry. God bless you. That's really, really nice to say, Maureen. there in Arizona. Love it all. And thanks for all these comments. You guys are really on fire tonight with the comments. We really appreciate that. Merlin says, like a student would say, good night, Mr. Strauss. Absolutely. And Jane says, once again, in Sweden, it's still 3:55 a.m. It's time to go to bed, Jane. Time to get some rest. You are a real trooper. We appreciate that. Thanks for all of the time and the attention. Again, Lightman is the name of the book. And as you saw, Larry was holding up the revised look of the book, which is really cool. I like it even better than what we have here as far as the photo. This is the one we have, so you get sort of an idea of what you're going to be looking for. But again, it's more bolder, the newer version that has come out. We really appreciate Larry joining us and talking about his family, his mom, his upbringing, his career, his students. Really, we covered a lot of different things. We didn't just talk about, the things you would think we would talk about, which is the prolific career of his mom. We touched upon all of that, but also about his wonderful career and his life and the influences both of his parents had on him. So it was really great. Of course, we took you down memory lane in talking about some of the shows that you remember that his mom was in, and so much more. We just really touched upon a few of the incredible things, including the commercials. There's the other book, The Facts of My Life with Charlotte Rae and Larry Strauss. That book is available. You can get that now. But again, talking about the son of a prolific and very loved American treasure when it comes to entertainment and television. There's that wonderful shot of Larry and his brother in New York, over towards, I think he said, Central Park, a young Charlotte Rae in school. And of course, you know her, Car 54, Where Are You? Of course, I know a lot of you are excited about these photos as well during the course of our show. And yeah. And of course, if you go all the way back to Sesame Street, that's it. The letter 3 or the number 3 and the letter B. Remember that? Cool stuff, gang. Thanks for all the comments. Thanks for being with us. You can look for the book on Amazon and everywhere else. Really a pleasure. I do want to let you know that got some amazing guests coming up on the show. Tomorrow, Jerry Mathers is with us. Yes, Beaver Cleaver. Leave It to Beaver actor Jerry Mathers is with us live from Los Angeles as well. And we've got a busy day tomorrow. 3 shows. 1 o'clock, we have actress, producer. We have 3 shows tomorrow. 3 episodes of the Jim Masters Show live. So we're going to hit all time zones tomorrow. We have actress, producer, and director Antonia Casper. Antonia is going to be with us live from New York. She is fantastic. She's actually a great friend. She's got a really cool new show, funny show that is out. We're going to talk about that. That is at noon. That is noon. Very special time. We usually don't do a noon show on a Tuesday. So this is triple levity on the Jim Masters Show live tomorrow. Actress, producer, director, live from New York City, Antonia Casper is with us. She's a riot. She's just all excited to be here. This is 12 p.m., noon Eastern. If you want to be with us live, of course, all the shows are archived and you can watch these, later on. But if you want to join us live, noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. Then at 5 p.m., 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific, incredible actress, award-winning actress, director, and best-selling author, Gabrielle Stone is going to be with us. Gabrielle is the daughter of Hollywood legend Dee Wallace, who played the mom in the movie E.T., as well as she was on The Howling, Cujo, The Hills Have Eyes, The Streets of San Francisco. You name the TV show, the movie, Dee Wallace was probably in it. Dee Wallace was also a guest on the Jim Masters Show a few months back. You can see that full episode in our archives. Gabrielle is going to be with us tomorrow at 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific, if you want to join us live. And then tomorrow night, also from Los Angeles, Leave It to Beavers. Beaver Cleaver is going to be with us. Yes. And that is Jerry Mathers. Jerry Mathers is going to be with us. and that's going to be cool. We're going to look forward to that. He's all excited. We're all excited. He's got some really cool new things coming up. And Beaver Cleaver, the one and only Beav, is going to be with us tomorrow. We look forward to that. That's 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. Jerry Mathers is with us, who played Beaver. Coming up on... Actually, let's go here first. This is Wednesday. From the Invisible Poet Kings rock band founder, Barry Keenan, is going to be with us with music and a whole host of cool conversation. That is on Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. Then on Thursday, Judy Scott, who was going to be with us last Saturday, but she had a little family matter she had to tend to. So we rescheduled her for this Thursday. And that's going to be at a different time than normal. If you want to join us live, that's going to be 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific on Thursday. She was a dear friend of Leonard Cohen, and she wrote this book. You see it on the screen, Leonard, Marianne, and Me, about this time where Leonard Cohen, the prolific composer and so much more, and her friend Marianne and she spent time on this Greek island together, and she wrote a book about it, and it's riveting. She's going to be with us, author Judy Scott and friend of Leonard Cohen, coming up this Thursday at a special time. Earlier, it's going to be 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific. Got it? So again, tomorrow, Antonio is with us at 1 p.m. Eastern. Not 1, noon Eastern. Again, this is if you want to join us live. Those of you who are watching this 6 months from now, you can see all these in the archives. But if you want to join us live, noon Eastern tomorrow, 9 a.m. Pacific, Antonio is going to be with us. Gabrielle Stone, 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific. Jerry Mathers is going to be with us from Leave It to Beaver at 8 p.m. Eastern. And what is that, 5 Pacific? And then Wednesday, Barry Keenan is going to be with us. Judy Scott's going to be with us on Thursday, and the list goes on and on and on. That's just a preview. We didn't want to overload you because we've got the 3 shows all tomorrow. It's going to be JMS Triple Lovety Day. Again, celebrating the one and only Charlotte Rae, and of course, Larry Strauss. We thank Larry for joining us here, son of iconic television character actor Charlotte Rae, joining us here on the show. Gang, don't forget to like and subscribe to Jim Masters TV. We would love that. Like this episode, give us a thumbs up, leave a comment for us as well. That does help us. YouTube sees that, and then they blast this episode out around the world when you like. And if you haven't subscribed, we would love that as well. There's no cost for subscribing. That is, you just click that red button, subscribe. Kind of looks like that. You click that red button, subscribe, and then look what happens. Boom, you're subscribed, and there's no cost. They just use the word subscribe on YouTube. And click the notification bell so you never miss out on any of the episodes, especially if you want to join us live, to participate live. Again, you can always watch all these episodes archived on our YouTube channel, Jim Masters TV. And Maureen says, Gabrielle was in a movie back in 2013 that was written and produced by my now son-in-law. Can't wait for her episode. Hey, that degree of separation gets closer and closer on the Jim Masters Show Live, doesn't it, Maureen? That is really cool. You'll have to mention that tomorrow. She'll be on at 5 p.m. Eastern, which will be 2 p.m. Pacific. So hopefully, maybe if you're still at work, you can sneak in a peek. Yes, very busy with this show tomorrow. And good to see you, Amy, and always such great guests and so much levity. Can't wait. Thank you, Kathleen. Maureen also says, Jim, thank you for yet another incredible conversation with Larry. What an amazing person he is. I agree. Mary Bishop says, good night, all. Take care. Yes. Busy day tomorrow. And Sherry Larson says, thank you, Jim, for another absolutely wonderful evening. Really enjoyed Larry. Good night, all. Sleep well. Hugs. You too as well. Kathleen in New York says, have a great night, and good night. Hugs to you as well. Kathleen in New York City. And I always love the photos you show for all the guests. Great selections. Thank you very much. I appreciate it, Kathleen. Trip down memory lane tonight on the show a little bit, right? Yeah, good stuff. You guys are the best. We're going to scoot out of here. Larry's having his dinner, his Chinese food. We're going to have a snack. We're headed to bed early because we've got a long day and a lot of production we have to do for 3 shows, 3 episodes of the Jim Masters Show Live. Again, you can see over 500 plus episodes of our series right here on our YouTube channel, Jim Masters TV. Again, give us a thumbs up. Leave a comment for us on this episode. We would love it. And all the episodes you guys enjoy. We have so much fun coming your way. Great conversations, entertainment, our entertainment lifestyle talk show series, and a lot of cool things that are on our way. We've hit that 500 plus mark, and we're on our way to the next 500 episodes, God willing, together. And again, thanks to Larry and sharing his mom with us today. One and only Charlotte Rae. Really cool episode for those of you who admired Charlotte and now learned more about her son and her husband too, of course. Thumbs up from triple thumbs up from Merlin in Canada. Gang, we always have a little ritual that we say here when we wrap up and depart. We don't say goodbye. We say, don't forget to smile. Don't forget to share the levity. Don't forget to find your Zen place. Mine is with loving family and friends. Of course, you guys know I love the ocean. Also, my career in television, radio, stage, and film over the years. Another Zen place as well. I also love cycling and tennis and music and writing and gardening and food and quality conversations and so much more. You're watching our YouTube channel, Jim Masters TV, and the Jim Masters Show Live. It's a channel really dedicated to entertaining, inspiring, educating, and just having a good time here, informing, and help us grow. Share the levity. Tell everybody about the Jim Masters Show Live and our YouTube channel, Jim Masters TV. We would love that. When you tell people, it really does help. More people get to experience what you love, which is our levity and all this great entertainment and poignant conversations and whatever happens right here on JMS Live. Christine Clifton says, thanks, Jim, for this wonderful evening with Larry. I really liked it. So deep tonight. I will miss most of the afternoon. Doctor appointments. We'll hope everything turns out well. And check out the archives. That's why they're there for all of you, so you never miss a thing. Gang, you're the best. Thanks for being with us in this episode of The Jim Masters Show Live. I am Jim Masters. So easy the way we named the channel and we named the show. You guys are the best. Good night, everyone, from Maureen. My dear levity family, hugs to everyone. Right back at you, Maureen. Thanks for being with us. And I love this time of the year. Fall is one of my favorite times of the year. It's sweater weather, fall foliage. Like I said earlier, we went up to beautiful Shelburne Falls, Massachusetts, that historic town. This famous bridge of flowers, this beautiful bridge filled with flowers, really, really nice. And a lot of people come from all around the country, if not the world, to visit that destination in Massachusetts. Really nice. The fall foliage in the Northeast is starting to really look nice. And the temperatures are like in the daytime, they're in the, say, upper 60s, low 70s, getting a little chilly at night, but really nice and refreshing. Not beach weather. We'll do that at holiday time when we see the family in Florida. We'll dive into the ocean then. All right, gang, we're going to duck out of here. Fall is the best. Love it. Me too. It's a beautiful time of year. Really is. Good night to Amy and to Kathleen as well. Gang, we love you all. Take care. Be well. Your host, Jim Masters here. Thanking you for your time. This time till next time on the Jim Masters Show Live. You be well. Take care of one another. And we'll see you on the next episode. We've got 3 of them tomorrow, 1 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Eastern. Whew. 3 shows in the same day. Who does that? I guess we are. I'll be here in the chair, in this chair, the host chair, waiting for all of you. We'll see you again soon. Have a good night. Take care. Cheers.